Okay. Hopefully, did it tell you that it was starting recording? Thank you. All right, so the first thing on the agenda was we had talked at the beginning of the year about parent meetings, and Westwood, unfortunately, I don't see anyone from Westwood here yet, but they started doing parent meetings this year as well. They've only really got a couple planned because it was their first year doing parent meetings. We've been doing them a few years now. So Westwood did one right at the beginning of the year, and then we did an earlier one on language proficiency on our early dismissal day. Term 2 plans, the only thing we've currently got planned for this term is the Martinstag event, which is underway. Classes K through 3 or possibly 4. Brittany, do you know if Peter's making lanterns or not? You don't think he is?
I think he has plans to make lanterns. Okay. I don't believe he has started them yet. I haven't seen them. That's fine.
We're all sort of just thinking about it. But yeah. So K through 4 will make the lanterns, we'll parade, and then 3rd grade is going to put on a play. We're going to record all of it for parents to be able to see. We were hoping that would be an evening cultural event. So that is our plan for post-COVID. And this has been a couple of years now that we haven't been able to do it. The first year we did have parents come, and it was great. Term 3, Brookwood teachers met and decided that they felt like moving the open house or celebration of learning to term 3 was a good idea. Thumbs up if you agree. Okay, I've only got a few thumbs, so I've only got a few people. So term 3 is when Brookwood's going to do their open house and talk with parents and just kind of showcase what we're learning. Westwood has got their schedule for Friday, May the 6th. We didn't do that in May because we've got STEM Day right around the same date in May at Brookwood. I did tentatively, Caroline, put on the middle school parent meeting for term 3. I put a tentative date. We obviously would like to have some information to share with them at that point. I know you've started working on getting a meeting together.
Yes. What I'm really waiting to get the Checkpoint Charlie list. I've talked to the middle school and we're really just sort of we're thinking about things, but until we get that list and really start recruiting a teacher, we really haven't started a lot of details. So
yes, I'm hoping
mid-November.
Yeah, I'm hoping February we'll have
some
information to share at least, and I'm sure they will have a lot of questions. So even if that's all we get is a lot of questions. Then we talked about prospective parent meetings are usually in March, and I went ahead and put that on the calendar so that we don't forget that we need to have a date for that. And then term 4, we also do a new parent orientation, which has actually gone a little bit by the wayside the last few years. So I put it on there so that we could make sure it happened. Any thoughts, those of you who are in here, about those dates and any other suggestions on parent informational events? Because I'm not sure what topics we still need to cover this year. And who was there? Daniela was not there. Karen, Paul, Lori, you guys were at the meeting on the virtual day. What were the ideas you had for how to host a celebration of learning virtually?
At the end of school?
Mm-hmm. We're talking about term 3, we were going to do that celebration of learning. And there was some discussion about what would we do if we couldn't do it in person.
We talked about doing the Padlet and having different grades have different tabs.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes. Yes, I do now, Caroline. I was like, what did we say we were going to do? We were going to try to figure something out. Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we have some ideas, and we need to make sure we've got that more concrete, but we'll be meeting right at the beginning of term 3 to kind of nail that down. All right, so that was everything I had about the parent meeting, or the parent meetings that we've been, and I don't see anyone from Brooklyn because we call them Cafe and Kuchen, or I mean, we could have called them Cafe Klatsch, but it's harder for people to say. At Westwood's, I think they just call them parent meetings. All right. Second point on our agenda here is the district math curriculum work. Just wanted to update everybody on that. We've got some people here that are participating. So our first work day was term 1 was in the summer. So what we're doing here is uploading any documents, materials that we've created for math in German or in Spanish to the Canvas page. And I only have access to this one, so I was going to show you this one. So here is what it looks like in first grade for German DLI. So Brandy and Leslie had created these documents for us with basically all of the aspects of your grade level curriculum. And then we need to curate our resources in this. So, you can see some areas I've got more than others, but we spend these days doing it, but also as I go along and I'm teaching a unit, for example, right now we're doing word problems. I'm uploading things that I've translated so that I don't run into the problem next year. Oh, I know I translated that, but where is it? So this way it's here for me next year, but also if another person ends up teaching my grade level, the materials are all there. So this is the math curriculum work that we have been doing by term. And term 2 is happened October 27th, and we just got the date for term 3. So anybody who wants to do that work, the next date is January the 26th. So far, I think we've had Maria, Liana, Dahlia, me, Karen, and Paul have been creating those documents. So if you do want to join, let me know. Or let Leslie and Brandy know, because they send the invites. Okay, I've got people coming in now. All right. The other thing that you should have been getting lots and lots of emails about, if you are on any of Patrick Wallace's mailing lists, raise your hand if you've been getting these emails about yep, good. So there are now this year with additional funding, there are professional learning communities that are going on online in Georgia for world language teachers, and there are a host of them. I tried to write down here most of the ones that would be relevant to us. So K2 Spanish is being led by Melissa Radu. Sorry, I think I've just knocked somebody out. Nope, I let them in. Okay. I'm leading a K5 DLI for all languages, so that won't be in English. There's a German teacher sessions being led by Jonas Strecker, and I think the first one he's presenting on is this week, maybe even tomorrow. And then Beta Delgadillo is presenting for high school Spanish, and I know that's high school, but she does a whole lot of great activities for communication to help us really use some strategies. So even though most of the material she'll present will be not appropriate for elementary, some of the strategies might be. I'm going to stop sharing a minute because I'm worried I've missed people. I've got Leanna, I've got Molly, I've got nobody. Okay, all right, great, thank you. I'm going to go back to sharing. For those of you who've just joined, we talked about the parent meetings that are going on all year, and you'll all get these notes. The math curriculum work that is going on, and then we just started talking about those emails we've been getting from Patrick Wallace about the professional learning communities. It is a great place to share ideas. Most of the presenters have determined that right after school is a good time. So about 3:30 or 3:45, although Jonas is doing his in the evenings. All right, I'm on to our fourth agenda point. All right. I'm going to let Caroline speak for a moment, but then I want you guys to think about things that we need to share that are related to these language proficiency guidelines that we drafted in the summer. And this is our check-in point. Our DLI district meetings are our check-in points to share what we're thinking about these, how we're thinking about using them, how it's gone, if we've assessed any students so far. So have that in mind after Caroline mentioned something about our actual testing.
Okay, so we have looked at a lot of different ways to measure the proficiency of our language assessment. We've looked at the stamp, we've looked at A1 from Germany, and we have finally fallen and chosen that we think it's the best is the Apple, which is the ACTFL, which we're really, I like to have a partner agency that we really base everything on to keep continuity. And so it is, that's what we have landed on. They have really good work and really good resources for us. It is the actual assessment of performance toward proficiency in language. They have 3 different categories, grade 3 and 4, grades 5 through 8, and grades 9 through 12. And we met with one of their sales representatives. The grades 3 and 4 is just a basic test on interpersonal listening and speaking. It's simplified and more user-friendly. The form A to B1, A1 to B1, which is grades 5 through 8, is interpretive reading, listening, interpersonal listening and speaking, and then presentational writing. And so it is 3 parts. We think it's going to be about 1.5 hours to 2 hours long. We're going to, this year, since the 5th graders have never been tested, we're going to test the 5th grade German, and we're going to test the 4th grade German. In the future, I would like to just test the 4th grade, and then maybe, because it's a grade that is not tested with the state assessments as highly, and then possibly 6th or 7th grade in the future. So we will be piloting this with the German language this year, since Spanish isn't to that grade level yet. And we are hoping to do it mid-January to mid-February. I'm still working with Laura Orr as the assessment director to figure out the best timing. And we will get the information back, the report back rather quickly because it is online. It has reports for students and teachers. It has a national data comparison tool, and it has their actual can-do ratings. So we're excited about the potential and seeing what it all has to offer. This will not be a got you. This will really be we want to use it as a formative assessment to see where the students are and give us a benchmark, because this will be our first time taking it. It'll be a complete learning experience.
Thank you. And I like that we are going to go ahead and test 4th and 5th grade this year, so we have some data for our students moving into middle school. But moving forward, we felt as if they get tested a lot, that maybe just 1 point in the intermediate grade levels was good, and 4th grade seemed to be the earliest that they might be successful with that assessment. Any comments from 4th grade or anybody else about that assessment? Okay.
So they do have a 3rd to 4th, but they're just not going to do that this year. Not going to do that yet until we know more about the test.
Right. And yes, at the moment, I think we're just thinking 1 grade level. On 4th grade is, where they might have acquired more language. by the time they get to fourth grade, especially with us doing it mid-year and not at the end of the year.
Right.
Okay. The other thing is that language proficiency guidelines that were drafted in the summer. Who feels brave enough to share where they think we are with that right now? What are we actually doing with this paper at the moment?
I actually printed them off, put everybody's name on it, but as they're speaking and saying things, I'm like, how am I going to get back there to put that or remember when they're answering? So I'm kind of stumped as to what to do. I put it in my notebook with all the assessments that I have. And that's as far as I got. Like I said, wrote all their names on it, and there's kids who are saying things, and I'm saying, go get a token. I don't know if I'm gonna, maybe I just need to have a list and let Jocelyn, as they answer, just make a little mark, and at the end of the day, we do it. I haven't quite figured that out in the midst of Halloween and Martinstag.
Yes, and I think that's a good question, Caroline, because I think that's the question that Lori, that a lot of people have. Karen, I saw you were on it. I think you were the one that suggested at our math, you made a suggestion at our math day about how to use it at least this year.
Yes, I was thinking to just test, interview, whatever, one of the higher students, one of the lower students, and then somebody in the middle, instead of doing everybody this year, since we're using it, but not really using it this year.
So using that as a way to, not necessarily as a way to evaluate your students, but as a way to evaluate the tool, to see, are these the right questions? Is this, something that we can use? So Karen was like saying, well, to make it manageable this year, just select some students, pick out some students that you think would fit into those categories and evaluate the tool with that. And that I thought was good for making our life easier and helping us figure out. Although, Lori, I like your, like a checklist because I think when we get to actually doing it with everybody, it's not something you can sit down and do one time. But it is something that you could be checking kids off on a clipboard. I like that suggestion. How are we going to document our changes, edits, things we want to do? How are we going to bring that together?
And the name for one, and the name, create a second document that might say 2.0 or 1.2 or something like that is one. Then you have the original, and then you have your revised suggestions or edits.
Actually, I made you guys all your own document. You do not need to make a copy. So if you go to the Brookwood, all right, I'm going to show you. If you go to it through your, so you all are part of this district DLI meetings, okay? Nope, sorry, not district. You are all part of the teacher meetings. I won't find it now, of course, too many folders. Inside the district teacher meetings, there's a Westwood folder and a Brookwood folder. And then inside that are all of the K-5 proficiency, but you have editing rights to yours. So if you want to do it digitally, it's easy. You go to, it's easy when you can find it. You go to there it is, DLI teacher meetings, all right? So see this, it's shared with everybody. And then when you go there, there's Brookwood, there's Westwood. You go to Brookwood. See these grade levels? So here's Paul's folder, and it's only shared with him and Alondra, but he can edit it. So you can just edit it right in there. So if you choose to edit it, oh, actually, Alondra should be an editor too. If you choose to edit it, you can edit it straight into there, and I still have the originals. Do not need to worry. What about those of us like me struggling to find the document when we want to do it? Can we just print it out like Lori did? Write our edits on this and keep them in a file? Because that's probably what I'll do. And then I'll end up transferring it to that Google Doc. And Caroline, the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm thinking we may need to have some kind of mid-year meeting to review these because on Zoom, we're not getting a lot of responses, which I get. Nobody likes Zoom. But to get people to actually get these papers in front of them and look and go through the mid-year and make a plan for, okay, what are we going to do between now and the rest of the year? So let's hold that thought.
Okay.
So I'm going to put that down here. I'm going to put in person so that we can get good feedback. Any other comments on, oh, and one thing that I wanted to point out again, I know everybody I think has been told it, but we are piloting this year. We are not reporting to parents. There was discussion or questions about, can we share this with parents? And I think the problem with that is the minute we start sharing it with parents is that they're going to want to know, well, how is my kid doing on this document? Let's just use these for our information right now. You can definitely mention, you know, proficiency and proficiency standards, because we have shared that with parents, at least at Brookwood, you know, what is proficiency? And we did at Westwood briefly in their meeting, but it's really just for us to use in the classroom this year. Any other thoughts on that? Okay. All right. I'm going to put these two together. So in the summer, we did some work, most of us were there, on planning integrated units by grade level. And everybody worked on a unit for term 1. And I think most people are now working on implementing their term 2 and hopefully planning a term 3 unit. Remember that you can upload those to that Canvas course, and those are the notes. But also, well, before I move on, those of you, and I'm not going to ask Karen to share because I think she shared them, but those of you who were at that meeting on the virtual day, can you think of something that Karen and Susan shared that you're like, oh, okay, that's something I could do with my unit, or that's going to help me do the bridge with my classroom? So I guess I'm looking at Lori, Paul, Peter, those people that were at that meeting there. How did that discussion go? And was there any takeaways from what Karen and Susan shared? And Karen, you can speak up if you want to, but I was going to kind of ask the people who didn't present last time.
Yeah, we took away some ideas of how to begin the planning for the thematic unit, bringing the science, a little bit of the math, and some of the literacy pieces together around our STEM theme. So we did have me and Alondra did have a really good planning session where we banged out a bunch of ideas. There's been interferences, something coming up with quarantines, and there's been a few things that have interfered with us delivering on that. But we got off to a really good and thorough start with the planning piece. So we just have to coordinate when she gets back from quarantines of when to implement it again and continue with the next planning. But I thought the planning went really well for the two of us. And that was building on exactly what the ideas that Karen had given us in the previous meeting. So that was very helpful.
Didn't even see Alondra there. Welcome from quarantine, Alondra. Yeah, I like that we have that STEM thing that I think really helps us do that integrated unit, because both teachers are very involved and engaged in that STEM theme. So it's a great way to integrate language across the two classrooms. Any other things and Westwood too, anything that you want, that I would love for you to share about your integrated units and how they're going?
One thing I shared in the Brookwood meeting, just to the Westwood people, is how much I've enjoyed hearing Frau Watts speak in German and the little things I picked up. And also, it's as in the English side of the program, it's really made me even more aware of, oh, who's understanding the language and who's kind of spaced out. And I try to work really hard to sit with those who possibly might be spaced out, to kind of say, now, what is she saying? Because they think it's hilarious. I don't know what she's saying. And so to kind of use that to their advantage, so that way they're being my teacher, and to try to encourage them to listen to what Karin is saying, but then to be able to share it with me. So it's just been fascinating. And currently, just for the Westwood teachers, we're writing an all about book on space, because in second grade, we're Earth and Space Explorers. And so we're writing it in English, but then she's also Karin's gonna then translate it to German, and both homerooms are writing it. And so I'm modeling that as then they're writing their own informational writing piece. And it's just been a lot of fun. And the few, the times we've met, and the little bit, how much I've just picked up on from the students. And I'm sorry, my children are in the background. So I've enjoyed it.
Well, and I like how you've integrated our writing into it. That this term is informational. So, using that literacy strand that across both languages is great. And we all know that all of our students need lots of practice with writing. And whether it's writing in English or in German, it's still practice with writing and how to organize your ideas and how to express yourself. And just, I love that idea.
And I just realized I'm on Karin's name.
Oh, yes, you are.
It's from the when I was out from the parent Zoom.
I was like, I'm so confused.
We have two Karins.
Yeah. Okay, Karin, you can help me with that later.
I'm going to move on to that next one because it's sort of tied together. The one of the motivations for doing the integrated units, one was it was in our first book that we learned, but also this book study was one of the motivations. And we worked through chapters 1 through 3, I think, in the summer, and then the plan was to read it this year. But I've been doing some informal polling, and I think some of us are struggling to get it read. And I hate to not do it justice. The last meeting, basically, I just read my notes on it, and only a couple of people had actually been able to get to chapter 3. So I really want some suggestions as to how we can take this book, but actually, actually everybody be able to get the content without trying to rush through it this school year, or trying to rush through it at the end of one of these meetings. So the plan had been for us to go through 2 whole chapters today. There's no way we're getting through any of that because we've got so much else on the agenda. So who has some suggestions for how we can, take this book that we have, but that we don't have a lot of time to look at right now, and really be able to study it?
Maybe we can share some. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Maybe we can share some examples how we teach literacy in the classroom and how we connect it. That kind of goes into what we just talked about before. In 4th grade, for example, drama is part of the English curriculum, and we perform a fairy tale in German and in English. So kids read the same text and perform the same text in 2 languages. And that would be an example of how we develop literacy in both languages at the same time.
I guess, Peter, it's reading. Do they write any of their own script?
No, I write the script, and then they learn the German lines, but the script is in both languages. And then we perform it in both languages. So the important part is that they read, act in both languages. Not only read and then try to understand, but they have to understand to be able to perform it.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. You've got the reading, the speaking, but the listening. You have to be able to listen for your lines and comprehend.
Yeah.
And that could be definitely a topic for a meeting, that we share our literacy strategies. What about this book in particular? Any other ideas for? There are
So,
lots of strategies in this.
I've done two different things. One, I have done a book study on Canvas page, and so people can really go at their own pace and have discussion board of what they liked in different chapters and what they didn't. And I've also done a jigsaw model where a grade level takes a different chapter and does a short presentation on it. So everybody doesn't have to read every chapter, but you're getting the information. Those are two different ideas for book studies. For busy people.
And depending on how many chapters there are, maybe the Spanish and English partner teachers could read the same chapter and present, like do 10 minutes a chapter.
Yep.
And then somebody else present a different chapter, and that way we can work through it.
Exactly, Maria.
And Maria, you
Patty
said the
says-
partnership would do it. So when you
Yes.
say grade level, it's the teaching partnership, right, Maria? Is that what you're saying?
Yep, Hattie says that Jigsaw has a very high FX size, in case you're wondering.
All right. So does that mean we're still thinking we want to try to keep reading through this year? I mean, we've got enough meetings. We could at least get through 2 or 3 chapters. All right, so who wants to take, I think we're on chapter, are we on chapter 4 or chapter 5?
I think it's 4.
Okay. So who wants to take chapter 4, planning the strategic use of 2 languages? I'm going to take volunteers. And then who wants to take chapter 5? And who wants to take chapter 6? And you know what? We've only got 3, so we could do like not just 1 teaching partnership. We could have 2 teaching partnerships for this, this, and this. You want to stew on it?
Yeah.
All right. Stew on it, let me know. Otherwise, I start assigning. So I think that's a good one. And then Peter's suggestion can tie into this. Okay, chapter 4 is about planning. So that one might not be as much, but chapter 5 and chapter 6 are a lot about oral language. So that's where we start sharing strategies about, how are we encouraging students to use language? How are we building oral language so that they have that oral language so that they can read and write? So both of those are really strong chapters. And if we just get through that this year, that's great.
Do you want Westwood K1 and 2 to do chapter 4, and then Brookwood K1 and 2 do chapter 5, and then Brookwood 3, 4, and 5 to chapter 6?
I love your organization. Sounds good. Right one out. Okay, so. All right, it's been decided. And the dates, hang on a minute, I'll put the dates on there now. So Westwood gets January the 11th. And just moving on, K1 and 2 gets March the 8th. And then 3, 4, and 5 get the April one. Ooh. Okay. Any problems with that? Oh, I thank you. Such a helpful group. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, good. So like Maria said, you know, we don't need to present for more than about 10 minutes, but come with your ideas. Think about, you know, what you found was interesting in that chapter. Perfect. All right, thank you very much. That really helps. All right, so I've already done the district meetings. Those are our dates. We really didn't have one every month. We had technically 5 or 6. I think I've already had to move one. So technically 5 or 6 dates. The last thing on my agenda, and I want a verbal response now, and maybe we'll do a poll or something later. Summer curriculum work dates. The problem we always have is the school calendar for next year doesn't get released until late. So we have to sort of talk about vague dates. But these are really our options for curriculum work. We could do something the first week after we get out, which the date is clear, 6th through the 8th. We could do something like we did last year with our language proficiency guidelines, where we had 2 or 3 days, 2 weeks before school comes back. And then we could also have a week right before school goes back. Some of us went to both, and that's fine. You don't, and we aren't going to have all 3 of those. We'll have potentially our new teachers might come in June, or our new teachers might come in this 2 weeks before. So I'm not talking about new teachers, I'm talking about returning teachers. So let me see if I can somehow see everybody. All right, I do not have everybody. I'm going to try. All right. Who thinks that they would be interested in the week before school, week after school gets out, in doing something? I go pull, and I'm not seeing everybody else yet. Anybody else would be interested in that week? Dahlia, is that you? Okay, I got Paul and Dahlia. Okay, what about, like we did this year, 2 weeks before school goes back? Okay, Maria, how do I do this? If you want to speak up, I can hear it better, but you can also raise your hand. Maria, Alondra, anybody else? Peter?
I'm willing to do that day too, Paul.
Okay, Peter, pull. So I've got,
Sarah and Liana.
oh, and Sarah, thank you, thank you, thank you.
And Liana wrote in the chat that she would too.
Thank you. All right, oh, great, okay, so I should have written names because I won't remember that. Okay. Sarah, Liana, Paul, Peter, Maria, Alondra, was that it for that? And who, I'm gonna write names. I can't see you, so you'll have to speak up. Who would definitely be interested in the week before school starts back? Hollywood. Thank you. Anybody else?
I would be available, Claire.
Is that the same week that we have normal pre-planning?
No, it is the week before pre-planning, because
Okay.
pre-planning, we might have other meetings.
Right.
So it's the week before teachers go back. It probably should have been what I said.
Okay.
Is that all I've got for that right now? All right, what would be our preference? Just speak out, because I'm not going to make notes of it, but I just, what's our preference on that? Dahlia, are you not available for any of those right before school comes back?
Hold, I'm so sorry. I was in the middle of the doctor's appointment. What was the question? I'm sorry.
You raised your hand for the June date.
Yes.
Would you be available for the week before teachers go back, or 2 weeks before teachers go back? or both? Not that we're gonna do all of it, but
Okay, so I was saying that it was better for me right after school because this year my son is going into college. So I was thinking that right before we start, we were taking him down wherever he is going to it. But I mean, I can make it work.
right, okay, I understand. I totally understand. All right, well, we've got a mix, so I'm not sure I've got a perfect date yet. And obviously there's a long way off, but I wanted to start to see what, I mean, if you're like me, which I know several of you are, we're making plans to fly to Europe. So I was just trying to get a feel for things. All right. I do not have anything else on my agenda because I felt like it was going to be a long meeting anyway. Does anybody have anything that they would like to ask, or anything that for the greater good you'd like to share while we've got a lot of people on here?
I do have a question, Claire. This is Alondra.
Hi.
Hey. I know in the last DLI meeting, Caroline, we did discuss having a outdoor reception for Martin's dog for all of the parents after school. Is that plan still in place, or did we change our minds about that?
I heard we changed our minds because we're still in tier 2. Is that correct,
Okay.
Claire?
I think that was the discussion
Yeah.
because we would just, we'd have all kinds of pictures posted when we really shouldn't be having a large gathering. I think our hope had been that this would be much more temporary than it has been.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
like the snacks would be for school, like within school after the parade and after the play?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds
think
good.
somebody told me, Alondra, that the suggestion was though that the students hand it out to the rest, like your students hand them out as the kids go out, like they
Okay.
would, you know, buying food on the street. Was that, did I understand that correctly? Or
I
are we
heard
just going to
that.
distribute in the classroom? Lori's saying in the classroom. I mean, I worry about the germ situation there
Right.
too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, that it was all done in each classroom itself to keep it
Yeah,
contained.
it'd be chaos otherwise.
There's going to be issues.
Okay, and then Sadie's mom had put down for 100 pretzels, and she can't get them from the supplier that she thought she was going to get them from. So now it's going to cost her a whole ton of money, which it wasn't going to. So we were asking maybe another grade level or two to look for volunteers, but this is a Brookwood thing. We'll have to talk about that. So Alondra, I did talk to Sadie's mom, and she wasn't sure she could get as many pretzels as she had signed up for.
Okay.
I'll probably need to get that sorted soon, so we have it for next week.
Yes, I'll be back Thursday.
Right.
I was
right.
gonna
Well,
say,
Mhm.
as a third grade parent, Alondra, could we, like we do for fall parties, could we collect money to give Sadie's mom for the pretzels? I don't know though, because that money might have to go to Brittany Vineyard and then through school funds. I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I actually had not heard back from her, but I'm assuming she spoke to you, Claire, right? That she wasn't able to get them.
She said it was going to be hard
Okay.
because she had a plan. So she had intended on signing up for 100. She didn't do that on accident. But then they're back ordered. She can't get what she wanted.
Oh, okay.
I went to the Blufford Bakery to see if I could get theirs, but they're huge and they're really expensive. So that wasn't going to work. We'll talk. We'll see if we can figure something out.
Okay.
Any other comments for the good of the program? Would everybody give me a, be thinking of me? I got signed up for this K5 DLI virtual professional learning community, which is exciting, but it's just an additional workload. But I'm thinking, you know, the idea of me being part of it is that I'm going to be bringing a lot of ideas back to us, you know, that hopefully being part of that means we'll get, you know, a lot more information coming our way. But just a little prayer for me as I try to navigate creating that community. And you're welcome to join. Obviously, most of it will share here, but I've already reached out to a couple of guest speakers, so it might be exciting, and you'll see the flyers and the commercials coming by. So, all right. Well, thank you so much. I know I've run over by 5 minutes. Peter's already home enjoying his porch, so enjoying his front deck there. So have a good evening, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Claire.
Thanks for joining. See ya.
Thank you.